Okay, Dave. Quick little before and after from today's session, mate. But before we pull up your after swing, I just want to just go through your swing and compare it to Justin Rose's now. Beautiful setup. We talked about that, right? Beautiful the way that you're standing to it, the way you've got your hands on the club. This is what I mean with regards to the takeaway with the club face being a little bit open, right? So if I do this in green, you can see that's the angle of his club face, kind of matches his spine angle, right? Well, there's your spine angle, and there's your club face, right? So that's what I mean by the club face just looking a little, just a little open, right? Good position halfway back, however. Then you kind of lose your disconnection. You kind of disconnect a little bit with your right arm, right? We know that you're overturning a bit, so maybe in future sessions we'll work on that right leg not straightening as much, right? You can see if I put a little dot there next to Justin Rose's, well, yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of it's coming back from its original flex, but I mean, it's not straightening much, right? It's straightening a little bit. Whereas yours is kind of straightening a lot, and we know that you overturn, right? So I think if we one of the things to help us limit that overturn, as well as the left knee movement, right, which we'll talk about in a second, we can certainly kind of slow down that or limit that right leg straightening as well. So as we get up to the top, I want you to watch the big angle underneath your right arm, whereas he's got his right arm kind of pinching against the side of his body, right? Quite a cut left wrist, and it's across the line a little bit, right? So, but what you do is you do pretty well at from that position, getting it back down in the slot. But because you're overturning on the way back, it's then, and the position of your left leg, which we'll talk about in a second, you'll find it very difficult to get back down to impact and clear, right? And clear. So you can see as he comes back down to impact, hips have cleared a lot more. Can see a lot more of his left butt cheek. Can see a tiny little bit of yours. Shoulders have turned out the way a bit more. Your shoulders are pretty square. And then post impact here, your right arm's a little straight, whereas his right arm's kind of moving inward, right? So he's cleared more. His right arm's moving inward. And you can see how that club's coming out underneath his left shoulder. Your club's coming out above your left shoulder, and your hands above your left shoulder. His hands come out underneath his left shoulder, look, right? So a little bit of work, just a little bit of TLC on the backswing, not closing the turns as much on the backswing, and then that'll hopefully enable you to get more open coming down into impact, right? So this was what your swing looked like at the start of the session from face on, and we'll get your little drill up that we did. This was on your swing on the right side was your swing towards the end of the session, right? So we said, right, well, going back, your head's drifting to the right a little bit too much. Your left leg is definitely kind of caving in a little bit too much, right? There's definitely an overturn there, right? We saw that. So then, even though you do a pretty good job of coming down and getting on your left side, because of the overturn, you're just not going to be able to get to an impact position which has cleared enough, right? So what we said was, well, let's pay attention to what your left leg's doing, right? And we explained how, you know, these pros at the top of their swing, they're settling into their left foot at the top of their swing, and the hips are moving more over their left foot, right? So, you know, we pulled up a few examples. We said that the pros, they have their gap next to their right pocket, right? So that proves that the hips are moving closer to the left, over the left foot. Whereas you can see at the start of the lesson, you had all this space here next to your left pocket, right? So you're too right-sided. You're too much on your right side. You're too much over your right side, over your right foot at the top of the swing, right? So I think that's a much better lower body movement. The only issue there I have is the spine angle here and the little bit of head movement still to the right there, right? So I think in future sessions what we'll do is we'll start to bend backwards a little bit. It's going to feel like your head's moving to the left, right? And we'll do some more to kind of combat your upper body then. But the one on the right side of the screen there, much better position, right? We can hit much more solid golf shots, be a lot more effective, be a lot more efficient with that kind of backswing. Okay, Dave. If you have any questions, mate, just shoot me over an email. If not, I'll see you next week for your next session. Cheers.